My name is Aakash Srinivasan. As I grew in my career and I learned more about this methodology and I discovered the things it had to offer, it was revolutionary to the way I approached my work. And it changed a lot of things just in my personal lifestyle and the way I approach work. By show of hands, how many of you are aware of the virtual case file, which was an FBI project? One person, two, three, awesome. The virtual case file was basically a software application project developed by the FBI from 2000 through 2005. And in April 2005, it was officially abandoned while still in development state. Just like that. What was interesting about this project was there was an article in the Washington Post about this, and an actual quote from the Washington Post was that the software developed was inadequate, incomplete, and so poorly designed that it was virtually unusable in real world instances. And it put a whole lot of national security data at risk. And it costed a total of about $170 million. About $105 million of the taxpayer money. In 2006, they kickstarted the tires on this project again. And this time they came up with a fancier name called the Project Sentinel. 6 years later, the project was in production. And it was used by FBI. The change they made, they chose Agile. Agile will not solve your problems, but it will expose them. And then also give you a set of best practices and guidance that will let you insert a certain amount of logic and rationale in the way you do things. And this technique is effectively used for any kind of new product development and new product design. Essentially what this does is, it lets you start with a high-level English-like statement for a vision. So if you don't know specifics about your business vision, that's okay. I'll give you an interesting example. A couple of years ago, well, about 5 years ago, in early 2009, I was coaching and training a couple of teams in Capital One. And Capital One had just stepped into the mortgage line of business at that point. And they basically acquired a bunch of banks, and they were trying to centralize their data repository. So they hired a bunch of external consultants. I was one of them. And we walked into the VP's office and he said, "Oh, good, you guys are here. We have this new line of business. We don't really have a clear vision of where this is going, but we want to go Agile. Now, help us build an awesome business." So we were like, that sounds familiar, why not? So then we basically showed them this technique of designing and slicing and dicing their product features. You start with an overarching goal or an intention, a high-level description. It could even be as a user story. It could be as simple as that. Next, you start to identify the personas, or who are your target customers. So now you're starting to see the similarity between the initial format of the vision we had, but we're not asking them to craft it in that specific format. We're basically showing some sort of a pictorial representation, and the slicing and dicing is a little different. So you start to flush out the personas, the users who are basically looking for some kind of problem statement to be resolved. So you have a high-level description and you know who your users are. Next, you start to figure out what the user interaction model is. You start to figure out what the journey of that customer or that user is when they're going to use this system. After that, you have enough information for a 50,000 feet level of building out epics, which is essentially a much, much higher level of a user story, right? Once you have epics, then you get into the technical specifics and think about high-level designs and high-level constraints. Are there impacts to enterprise architecture? Are there any new tables required to be set up? Do you need to provision new environments? Things like that, which are across teams, but maybe specific to a program or a portfolio. Now, once you have different aspects of these kind of slices and dices created for this vision statement, then you have enough information to start crafting out tactical pieces of your product backlog items, which are essentially your user stories. This technique has been very effective when we have gone to companies who are either kicking off businesses or they're startups, especially lean startups, where they don't have a clear idea about what the vision statement is. They have a hazy high-level picture. But now we're forcing them into these small little constructs where we're saying, all right, well, think about this, think about the interaction, think about the users, think about high-level information around epics. Think about, from a system standpoint, what is your architecture impact? What are your system specifications? Collect all that information and then you build out your story.